Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, out. You know why I just did that routine is because, wow, man. I mean, that's exactly what you expect from Champions League football. Especially now that we have reached that particular stage where we do expect a lot of, glitz and glam from these particular Champions League games. Especially now that it's the last four, it's the semi-finals. These are Europe's elite that are actually challenging, that are taking the bell, to the furthest of extents to actually, clinch the UEFA Champions League trophy this particular season. So will it be Real Madrid? Will it be Bayern Munich? Will it be Borussia Dortmund or Paris Saint-Germain? Right? And it is worth noting is that Real Madrid and Bayern Munich actually have got an immense history in playing in this competition, as well as PSG and Borussia Dortmund, not much of such, right? Despite the fact that PSG were only once-off finalists, losing to the eventual winners Bayern Munich. And Borussia Dortmund have also played twice in a UEFA Champions League final, losing out, in 1996 to the eventual winners, losing out in 1996 and also losing out in 2013 to Bayern Munich. Yeah, their fellow German counterparts. So it's actually going to be an interesting one to actually look at it. And this particular encounter at the Allianz Arena between Bayern Munich as well as Real Madrid was so scintillating. It was incredible to actually watch the football that was displayed. And obviously coming into this one, both teams highly were fancied. Yes, of course, everybody fancied Real Madrid to actually emerge through due to the fact that, look, they are the kings of this competition and they've proven themselves time in, time out that, irrespective of the fact that the odds can be stacked against them, they always overcome those odds. Just like what we saw in the quarterfinals against, defending champions Manchester City. So yes, the score resulted in a 2-2 draw, all square. Yes, it ended in all square, right, at the Allianz Arena in Munich. And Vinicius Jr. was the one who scored the late penalty. And that was his second goal of the game, which basically denied Bayern Munich a comeback victory against Real Madrid. And as expected, Bayern Munich had more of the ball. We know that Bayern Munich, they play the type of football that obviously FC Barcelona also plays, right? Keeping the ball, like playing the passing game, keeping possession, creating chances, from that. Yeah, and actually utilizing the width, to great perfection. And that's exactly what they did, deploying Sané on the right-hand side. In the first half, Sané played on the left-hand side, and then Musiala was deployed on the right-hand side. And then obviously we saw Müller playing as in the playmaker role, the veteran, with the striker being, the English talisman Harry Kane, deploying, Joshua Kimmich as well as, his compatriot Leon Goretzka. And then on the right side, we saw actually, the Moroccan actually being deployed on the right-hand side. Yes, I made a mistake, right? Sorry about that. Yeah, then we saw Joshua Kimmich deployed on the right-hand side. I meant to say actually Lima was actually deployed in the center, in the middle of the park, alongside, Leon Goretzka. Then we saw obviously the Moroccan, the former Ajax man, Maruzuri, being deployed at left back. Then obviously in that central defensive role was actually Eric Dyer, as well as Kim, replacing the injured Matthias de Ligt, who actually suffered from a minor injury in that victory over Frankfurt in the German Bundesliga. And then obviously Manuel Neuer being deployed in the sticks, as the goalkeeper. But obviously I would fancy Upamecano, to actually replace De Ligt, but, Tuchel went with Kim. Basically, Upamecano as well as Kim are the same type of players, right? They make very clumsy mistakes at times, right? But maybe I guess they wanted to fancy, Kim more and give him a chance to actually play at the highest level. But, playing in this kind of big games, you cannot, take a risk of playing players that are not used to playing in these types of games, right? But yeah, Kim was the man who was deployed and he made a lot of errors in this particular encounter. He made a lot of errors. But let's go straight to the game. Obviously, on the side of Real Madrid, we even saw Chouameni coming in for Camavinga in the midfield. So which made the fact that the central defensive pairing was between Nacho as well as, Antonio Rudiger, right? And then obviously at right back we saw Danny Carvajal. Left back it was Fede Mendy. And obviously in attack you had Rodrigo, Bellingham as well as Vinicius being deployed there. And alongside Tchouameni in the middle of the park, it was obviously Toni Kroos as well as Lucas Vazquez. But Vazquez and Federico Valverde. But obviously Vazquez, you would expect him to actually be deployed on the right-hand side at times, right? Actually providing Madrid with more width, And to say the least, Real Madrid playing with no outright striker, it has actually worked effectively for them, right, this particular season, surprisingly. And the fact that Kylian Mbappe will be joining them, in the summer actually, makes a lot of European clubs actually shake to their toes, And yeah, Vinicius Jr. going straight back into the game. Vinicius Jr. scored twice. The second was a late penalty, which it ensured an eventful UEFA Champions League semi-final first leg, which ended level after two quick goals from Bayern Munich threatened to actually inflict Real Madrid's first defeat in the competition this season. They are yet to lose in the Champions League this season. That's an incredible record. But when I look at this particular encounter, Bayern Munich really did so well. Yeah, they did very well in this particular game. You look back at Real Madrid, when in the quarterfinals, how they were able to soak up immense pressure from Manchester City, in the second leg at the Etihad. Real Madrid were basically on the back foot from the beginning in Bavaria. And again, it was the same situation. Bayern Munich created a succession of chances in the opening exchanges. And, Real Madrid have got, their goalkeeper, Andrew Lunin, to actually thank, who stopped two penalties in the last, 8 shootout against Manchester City in Manchester. He made a great reaction save, with an outstretched leg to firstly deny Leroy Sané in the opening minute of the game. And then Sané, we know he was in the thick of Bayern Munich's attack, and his clever backheel after a dot in the middle from the right wing found Harry Kane in the area. But Harry Kane's striking, curling shot was just too close to the goalkeeper once again. And the Bayern Munich attacking pair combined again a minute later, with Kane turning provider with a weighted pass from just inside the Real Madrid half to pick out Sané to the left of the goal, but the powerful strike just flew just right over the crossbar. But I guess, with that particular opportunity that Sané had, I think it was also his first touch which let him down. Leroy Sané, that was also his first touch which let him down. That's why he couldn't actually get a clean strike and he couldn't actually find the target, due to the fact that now that first touch led him to actually take the ball away from goal, which forced him into, taking a shot which obviously didn't hit the target. Had he had a better first touch, perhaps it would have hit the target, And from that particular moment in time, Bayern Munich still were relentless in terms of their dominance. Kane's lofted long-distance effort from just over the halfway line, had Lunin scrambling back to actually ensure that it hit his crossbar. But it was actually the visitors, who took the lead with a clinical piece of play midway through the first half, through the former Bayern Munich midfielder, Toni Kroos. What a pass that was. What a spectacular through ball that was. He threaded a proper, a spectacular through ball, through the home defense for the run of Vinicius Jr., who side-footed the advancing, past the advancing Manuel Neuer. Again, I blame the defender, Kim. He should have done better. He was fast asleep. Kim was fast asleep. He was caught flat-footed. Straight up, he was just caught flat-footed. When you're playing against a team like Real Madrid, knowing that you've got players like Vinicius Jr. as well as Rodrigo, players that are pacey, who can provide so much of a threat based on that particular aspect, you really need to be concentrating throughout the game. Your concentration levels should be, 100%. I understand. And you cannot really give Vinicius Jr. any sort of space. You cannot also give a player of Toni Kroos's capabilities and qualities that particular sort of space to actually make those kind of through balls. You understand? Because that was basically a defense splitting pass. And Kim was fast asleep, right? And yeah, Kroos, he nearly even doubled, Los Blancos' advantage shortly after the break, forcing a strong save from his compatriot Manuel Neuer. Although, Thomas Tuchel had to make a tactical switch at halftime. moving Sané to the right flank, and the change, quickly paid dividends, right? The German international cut inside off the wing and unleashed a fierce strike that flew past Lunin at the near post, and that's how we saw the Allianz Arena was in a frenzy. What an incredible goal that was. It was a great strike from Leroy Sané, Remember, Leroy Sané did score against Real Madrid during his Schalke days. It was when he was still a rising star, at the Santiago Bernabeu. And that's the first game which actually put him on top of the map. That's how the world got to realize who Leroy Sané was, when he scored a brilliant goal against Real Madrid at Los Blancos during his days at Schalke. It was actually the 2014-2015 season. That was an incredible strike. Yes, Real Madrid, they just won by inches, but Schalke put up a great display, and that's exactly where we first discovered Leroy Sané as the world. And then, following that vicious strike from Leroy Sané, what an incredible goal that was. Once again, 4 minutes later, Kane had the opportunity to score his 43rd goal of the campaign from the penalty spot. Once again, Jamal Musiala, again, I don't even understand that comparison between him and Jude Bellingham, because we all know that Musiala is miles clear of the Englishman, right? Musiala did so well, to actually draft into the penalty area and actually force a foul. As remember now he was impeded by, Lucas Vazquez. And look, Harry Kane did so well to actually roll the ball into the bottom corner. He maintained his goal a game average with a calm penalty, right? Harry Kane has been on sublime form for, the Bavarians since joining from Tottenham Hotspur, right? And basically he joined Bayern Munich on a quest to actually win trophies. Perhaps this might be, his opportunity of actually clinching silverware, because Bayern Munich are definitely out of the Bundesliga title race, because we know that Leverkusen have overwhelmingly won the Bundesliga championship, and they're also out of the DFB Pokal, the German Cup. So, this is their only chance of silverware, and what a moment this could be. This could be a pivotal moment in the career of Harry Kane and in Bayern Munich season. From that point onwards, yes, Bayern Munich took the lead 2-1. Yes, they almost added a third when Eric Dyer was able to meet, Joshua Kimmich's corner, only just to plant his head straight at Lunin. But Real Madrid and Vinicius in particular were far from done. Again, Kim, another mistake. Another mistake from Kim. He was having a torrid evening. Just shortly after he was able to test Neuer at the near post. And again, was another mistake from Kim, who clearly hadn't learned his lesson at all. He hadn't learned his lesson. Again, the Brazilian striker leveled from the penalty spot after Rodrigo had been brought down by Kim once again, to ensure that it's actually all square heading into the rematch at the Santiago Bernabeu. Again, Kim, that was another mistake, a very clumsy mistake once again from him. There was no need to actually impede Vinicius Jr. There was no need for him to impede Rodrigo. There was really no need. He should have just kept his composure, kept his cool, and kept his concentration levels high. But look, that's how it is. You get punished. When you're not focused on the game, you get punished. You understand? So, 2 goals for Vinicius, right? And Harry Kane also adding to his goal tally this season. And look, man, let's just talk about Vinicius once again, man. Vinicius, he was very dangerous every time he touched the ball. His excellent movement created the space for the opening goal. Even we saw him getting the equalizer very close before the penalty. You understand? But it just needed some great reflexes from Manuel Neuer. And let's just say, it was another spellbinding 90 minutes in one of the most engaging contexts in European football. Tuchel was basically so close to pulling off another tactical masterclass, but I'll say, he'll have plenty of positives to take ahead of the trip to Madrid. Bayern Munich may not have the narrow advantage, they were on course for, but it's actually another performance to actually stroke the belief that they can go all the way in the Champions League, right? And on the side of Real Madrid, what can I say about Real Madrid? Real Madrid, man. It looked like it would be a typical night from Madrid, out of context. And with their previously unbeaten Champions League, season, a little out of, the kilter with their personality in the competition over the generations, particularly in the second half. Ancelotti's side didn't brim with resilience and inspiration. Kutzpa, they were made, to be used to this particular situation. But then, of course, they did. They proved another demonstration that they are never out of a tie until the lights are off and everyone has gone home. That's exactly what Real Madrid did at the Allianz Arena once again. But what I can say is that, the second leg is finally poised, after a really good game in the first leg. And we basically expected goals and, thought that both teams would score, but we knew it was actually going to be very tight, and everything is open for the second leg at the Bernabeu. And another thing that is actually so incredible is that Thomas Muller now has become the third player to actually reach the UEFA Champions League, league appearances for one club. He has actually reached 151, right? Remember, Xavi Hernandez for Barcelona actually made 151 Champions League appearances. And then, Real Madrid's Iker Casillas made 150 Champions League appearances. On the technical side, the tactical side, looking on the technical sidelines of stuff, Carlo Ancelotti took charge of his 10th semi-final tie in the competition, equaling Pep Guardiola's competition record. Whereas Vinicius Jr., the Brazilian, right? Vinicius Jr., right? He has now scored in the opening leg of each of Madrid's last 3 Champions League semi-finals. Yes. Leroy Sané's strike, again, that was his 22nd in the competition. And that was actually his first, from the round of 16 onwards. Harry Kane's successful penalty ensured that he became the first English player to score 8 goals in a Champions League campaign. Whereas Los Blancos, they extend their unbeaten run against Bayern Munich to 8 matches, winning 6. You understand, in the process. So it is actually going to be a dramatic encounter in the second leg. I mean, I'm expecting so much drama. I'm expecting so much, excitement. I'm actually expecting goals. I'm actually expecting, scintillating action. I'm expecting so much enticement, so much exhilaration. I'm expecting a whole lot from the second leg. So basically, we all know that we're not going to be disappointed in the second leg. That I can assure you, we're not going to be disappointed. And then, staying in Germany. So staying in Germany, right? We travel from Munich to Dortmund, right? Remember, Dortmund is basically on the northwest side of, Germany. And remember, Dortmund is basically like 6 hours, Yeah, basically, if you were to travel from Munich to Dortmund via a car, right? If you were to drive from Munich to Dortmund, it will basically take you 6 hours. Literally. A maximum of 6 hours, right? And remember, Dortmund is also a city that is closely located to the border of the Netherlands and perhaps even Belgium. You understand? So remember, Munich is more centrally in Germany, and then Dortmund is actually basically on the northwest side of Germany, right? So if you were to drive from Munich to Dortmund, it will only take you 6 hours. It's basically a 6-hour drive from Munich to Dortmund. So we're going to still remain in Germany. The other big guns of German football, Borussia Dortmund. Yeah, it was a great game of football, as expected. I think Dortmund could have won this game by 4 goals clear, had they taken some of those clear-cut chances that they created. Well, I guess it was actually a fine, Füllkrug finish, which actually settled the nerves in the first leg. A very clinical finish from Niklas Füllkrug, which actually gave Borussia Dortmund a 1-0 victory at home to Paris Saint-Germain in the first leg of their Champions League semi-final. Remember now, Ousmane Dembele, former Dortmund, boys, Ousmane Dembele as well as Achraf Hakimi returning to the Signal Iduna Park, right? Remember, Achraf Hakimi departed the Signal Iduna Park, joining San Siro, going to Inter Milan, right? And then Ousmane Dembele joining FC Barcelona from Borussia Dortmund in a record fee. That was a record fee for 110 million euros, right? That's how much FC Barcelona paid for the Frenchman. What can I say, man? It was actually a terrific first half finish, from Nicholas Füllkrug, which actually settled an absorbing UEFA Champions League semi-final first leg. With Kylian Mbappe and Achraf Hakimi both hitting the post for Paris Saint-Germain in quick succession during the second half, as Dortmund were just able to hold on for that crucial 1-0 victory to take back to Paris in France. Both sides, to say the least, both sides. Let's look at the fact that both sides, made a high-octane start in Dortmund, where Bradley Barcola, Bradley Barcola has been a menace in the Champions League, man. He repeatedly tried to actually combine with Kylian Mbappe against a defense that was clearly determined to deny, Paris's feared forward line, some space. Marcel Sabitzer had the first attempt of note, collecting a clever Julian Brandt pass from the wing, erring in a drive from a tight angle, which was, greatly repelled by the visiting goalkeeper, Gigi Donnarumma. Urged on by their typically impressive home support, Dortmund actually became increasingly dominant, sending in all first four half, attempts on goal between the two teams, right? They had so many shots on target, and that's how Dortmund was so effective in terms of utilizing their forward lines, in terms of creating those spaces and, actually creating some room in order for them to have clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities, And the finest of those attacks that Borussia Dortmund were able to create was the one that actually broke the deadlock. Nicholas Füllkrug taking a terrific touch to actually perfectly control a perceptive pass over the top from Nico, Schlotterbeck, before matching the finesse with his finish to actually beat an advancing Donnarumma, And Paris Saint-Germain, they re-emerged, with electric intent, striking the inside of the post twice in remarkable passage of play. Mbappe was the first one who went, with the glorious curler, and the joint competition goal scorer was left open-mouthed. Even you could see the head coach Luis Enrique visibly sharing his disbelief when also Hakimi fired against the woodwork seconds later. And it was actually fizzing energy, which actually had been the hallmark for Dortmund's start. And Edin Terzic's, side seized back the momentum with succession of slick attacks. Füllkrug, clearing the crossbar with a volley and a header which was also well placed on both occasions. The home side actually had reason to actually be grateful to their goalkeeper, to Gregor Kobel, through for a vital save, applying the faintest of touches to the former Dortmund forward Ousmane Dembele's close-range shot from a sublime Mbappe pass. And again, Dembele lashed over when he was in space inside the penalty area with 8 minutes remaining, and the Paris Saint-Germain defender and captain Marquinhos produced an inspired intervention to actually stop Dortmund from extending their lead in culmination of a rapid counter-attack. This was basically a tie whereby both teams, overcame, first leg deficits in the quarterfinals. And the French champions will need to actually, be on top scoring form at home against, the Germans, at the Parc des Princes. But one guy I want us to talk about, Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho. I want us to talk about Jadon Sancho, ladies and gentlemen. Jadon Sancho. Do you guys literally think that Man United destroys players? I want to know, because Jadon Sancho put up a great display in this particular encounter. He put up a fantastic display. You understand? He put up a fantastic display. Jadon Sancho literally, he emulated Lionel Messi with a sensational Champions League display for Borussia Dortmund in the first leg against PSG. And it puts his stats, his Manchester United, displays to shame. Jadon Sancho emulated Lionel Messi with a stunning performance. You understand? It was a stunning performance. Dortmund, Sancho was at his very deadliest best against Paris Saint-Germain. He was in brilliant form. You understand? And look what he did. His supreme performance, he turned his supreme performance, by actually becoming the first Englishman to actually complete 11 or more take-ons in a single Champions League game, and the first to do so in a semi-final since Lionel Messi against Manchester United in 2008, who basically completed 16. Remember? And the bigger, look at it, in a dismal spell at United, in which he only scored 12 goals, Sancho never managed to even complete over 7 take-ons in a single game in his 58 league appearances, but he did so against PSG within 30 minutes. What does that tell you? You know, what does that tell you about this man? You understand? Sancho was actually the player who actually won the most duels. He won 13 duels, right? And he completed the most take-ons and he created the most chances in the game. He created 3 chances in the game, which is the most of any player on that particular evening, right? And it tells you once again, you ask yourself a question, does Manchester United destroy players? Do they? I guess not. Maybe they do, but look, I didn't see this kind of Sancho at Manchester United. Definitely not.